Welcome to Scream Therapy. I'm your host, Jason Schreurs. In October of 2018, I found myself in the hospital, sitting across from a psychiatrist who was telling me I had bipolar. I was sent home with a bunch of medication and laid on the couch for a week. I had my iTunes library on shuffle, trying to shake the hornet's nest from my head. Ever since I was a kid, I've been using loud music as a form of therapy. Punk rock and mental health have always been connected. This podcast looks at that connection through the lens of different guests. This is Scream Therapy.
I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go.
Substance use is a way to cope with and mask other mental health issues. It can also be a conduit for creativity. For musicians like Romy Hoffman of new wave punk band Agender, getting sober brings up fears and questions. Can we be the same artists without the altered states that substances put us in? If we sit with our darkness and really feel it, will it swallow our need to create? The truth is, creating art in sobriety can be the key to soothing and processing what's been lurking beneath the surface. In Romy's case, her songwriting became more grounded and healing. The darkness doesn't ever go away, but it can be pure and channeled into beautiful things, like writing and playing new wave punk rock.
I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go. I see a logo everywhere I go.
My name is Romy Hoffman. I play in the band Agender. Agender formed around 2011 when I was living in Melbourne, Australia. It started as a one-woman solo project that I did in my bedroom. The first demos, I played everything on the record myself, and then it morphed. I realized I wanted to do shows of the project, so I got a band together, and it's morphed since then. So it's been about 14 years, which is wild. But I have been playing in punk bands since I was 16 years old. My first punk band was a band called Noise Addict. I got to tour America at a very young age, and I've been making music ever since. So since I was 16 years old, many different forms of music. I have solo stuff that's more like dance oriented, industrial techno stuff. I have projects that's just me and a guitar in my bedroom. So yeah, I've been making music forever. Still doing it, even though times are tough, and I've seen the industry change in that time. But yeah, my main focus is my band Agender. We just released our third record, Berserk. We are like a fierce 4-piece all-girl band. That music traverses pop punk, hard-hitting post-punk, synth punk, disco punk. So our records basically sound like a mixtape of different umbrellas of punk rock. It's like the best medium for me to comment on what's going on in my life and what's going on in the world. I feel like punk's the perfect medium where I can get my message across and express myself in the best possible way. Punk rock is kind of my religion. I think it is a good guidebook to life. So I'm very grateful I've had it in my life to kind of guide me through things and ways of living.
As an outlet and a coping mechanism for some people as well, going through hard times, and there's things that people can turn to that aren't as healthy as music.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've had music throughout my life when I wasn't super healthy. And now, I've like, quote unquote, done the work, doing the work. The work never ends, but having music through that. So it's interesting that I've had it in the really dark times and the light times. And I'm so lucky. I don't know where I'd be without having that outlet for sure.
Would you be okay with telling a little bit about those dark times?
Yeah, I mean, it's just classic cliche rock and roll stuff. I am a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. I have 14 years clean and sober.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, which is great and a miracle and still blows my mind to this day. I was a very introverted, shy child, and it's a classic thing of like drugs and alcohol do help you when you're like that. Like they really kind of did save my life in my teens. They were like an escapism. They were a way to, yeah, escape the real world. And I don't know, it just becomes fun and then fun with problems and then just problems. So it's just that classic arc. I've always just had like an internal darkness. I don't know, nature, nurture. I don't know where that comes from, but I've had that. And drugs and alcohol kind of soothe the chaos, which then when you get sober, you're scared. Oh my God, I'm not going to have my chaos. Like, how am I going to create? But when you get sober, the darkness is like pure. It's not masked with all the problems that drugs and alcohol cause and the drama of it all. You know, when you're stripped of that, you are left with the purest darkness, which I do feel like I can tap into in a really beautiful way now. Still, even on this record, Berserk, there's a couple of songs on there that I really talk about what it's like to feel my wounds and my abandonment wounds specifically and attachment stuff, which is what the work I'm interested in now. Which, you know, getting sober allows you to be able to work on that stuff rather than working on the drugs and alcohol and the chaos. It's the real work that allows you to tap into that.
I like that concept about finding the pure darkness inside rather than masking it with other things. And for me, when I was undiagnosed with bipolar, it was like all this chaos was going on. And yes, there was creativity, but it was in such a unhinged way that, it had pockets of brilliance and pockets of disaster. Whereas now when I try to express myself, I feel like I can, like you said, it's more pure. And yes, there's still darkness there, but it's controlled.
Definitely. It's like when you're ruining your life and just causing chaos and destruction, like that's not really it's actually hiding what's really going on. So once you take away that layer of just hiding what's going on, you're left with the truth of it all. So I'm grateful I get to like tap into that now and really through the music, like I get to heal that.
You mentioned in your teens moving to substances and using them as an escape. And the music, were you doing those at the same time, or did the music replace the substance use?
No, I had a project in the mid 2000s that did really well in Australia and I got to tour. You know, I remember saying to myself, I don't need to use that. Like, I don't need to go on stage and drink. Like, that's going to take away from the rawness of the performance. And then lo and behold, it only took a certain amount of time that, of course, you have a drink, and then by the end, just going on stage and being wrecked. So breaking those pacts with myself. But touring and again in the mid 2000s, it was like all handed to me on a platter and I just partied, like when you're playing festivals and touring and on the road, like it's just very easy to slip into that pattern. So again, I said I wasn't going to do it and then I did. And it just got worse, progressively worse and worse as it does. If you're an addict, it does. I do believe it's like a disease that does progressively get worse if you're not treating it. I do think touring and being on the road and stuff, that did exacerbate it for sure. And that project that I was in, I think if I kept going down that path and with that specific project, bad things would have happened. It was heading in a bad way. But for some reason, I kind of shifted and started making other kinds of music. And then that slowly led to sobriety. So they've always gone hand in hand. And then, yeah, getting sober is really scary when you're an artist because you don't know. I'm just like, oh, how am I going to write? How am I going to create? That's part of your identity. It's like, who am I if I'm not the like wasted party animal, debaucherous, chaotic person, So that took time to like settle. And like I did really start Agender in response to that, getting sober and being like, all these feelings and thoughts for the first time in my life, having new thoughts and feelings and not know, it's great that I know, I can turn to art. Like art's always the thing that's helped me through this stuff and just do that, like start a new project, get your mind off things. Punk rock is like the best avenue for you to just go blah, 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 and just like say
Yeah.
nonsense, but pass out what's really going on. with Agenda, I like the passing out of things and starting off with that chaotic, raw person. And then it has like, again, I've done so much work and like processing the work I've done through this project, tackling it in songs and seeing how it has like smoothed out and how I am like who I am now, like just a more refined, as complex for sure, but you can see that through the trajectory of the albums, who I am now as opposed to then.
Do you remember a defining moment of wanting to get clean, or was it something that you didn't realize have kind of slowly happened?
It just happened, honestly. It's like, they talk about like a slither of willingness that came out of absolute nowhere. I got sober in February, and that January 1st, I remember, was like a slow, something happened on like the 2nd of January that was like, oh my God, I can feel my body shutting down. There's got to be a time at which I don't need to do this to myself. And then within a slow 2-month period from then, just I hit bottoms and bad things happened. And I knew to just not drink because I knew what straight edge culture was. I knew
Yeah.
mine was straight edge. I always made fun of them back in the day, but I was like, punk rock was my higher power at first. It was like, oh yeah, straight edge. I don't need to drink and use. Drinking alcohol is evil. It's like they're trying to make us kill ourselves and ruin ourselves so we can't like rise up and be our strong selves. Like, yes, I can adhere to that. I can get down with that. So that for the first year, being straight, it was more of a straight edge thing of like, I'm not going to partake in that. And I knew that from punk rock, thankfully. Like that was saved me.
It's another point for Ian MacKaye of Minor Threat.
Thank you, Ian.
You hinted at the fact that the chaos went away, but often we'll sort of substitute one bad habit for another.
Yeah. I mean, it was, really hard at first, especially getting sober in Australia. I was living in Melbourne, which obviously the drinking culture is just very different there. In LA, it's so amazing here. Just 12-step world, all the young, cool people are sober. There's just so many young, amazing people in sobriety, which it's not the case in Australia as much. But I was in a relationship at the time that I got sober, luckily. But yeah, I just felt the transference of that. It's like, okay, if you don't have one thing, if you have an addictive personality and that within, you're going to like transfer it. So I did. I mean, it was more transferred into like sex and love addiction stuff, which I've always had. Like the love addiction stuff is linked to attachment theory. Being a anxiously attached person is linked to the love addiction stuff. When you drink and use, like that stuff's always there, but it's like medicating that. So not having the medication for that stuff just really amplified it and made it really like observant to me. Like I was like, oh, I could tell what's going on, and being in a relationship and starting to feel like nothing was ever enough. It's like hard to go into it in too much depth, but yeah, it's definitely a feeling of like, oh, I'm transferring and putting all this addictive pressure onto this like relationship and sex and love.
So you talked about the anxious attachment, and I've heard about attachment theory because that's kind of the obvious one, but it sounds like you're connecting anxiety with the attachment. I think some people would connect that with loneliness or depression even.
For sure, yeah, because anxious attachment is an attachment style that is the anxiety of it. Like it definitely makes you anxious to be in relationships. It's never, you're just constantly thinking, what if this ends? What am I doing? It's never like at ease. It's just like a constant anxiety of I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to be abandoned, doing stuff to test that abandonment. So it is in a constant state of anxiety when you're in that, for sure.
What do you mean when you say test the abandonment?
When I'm in that, it's just like nothing this person does, nothing is enough. So then you'll test them to see like, is this enough? Will they stay? And usually it's because, I don't know, you want them to abandon you so you can just be like, see, I am going to be abandoned. I justified in me like freaking out over, am I going to be abandoned? This person did. See, so you're just trying to like, it's scary to be in a relation. It's almost easier to be alone. So you're trying to push them away so you can confirm your belief and be abandoned, because that feels soothing in a way to feel abandoned and be alone because you're not in that state of anxiety all the time.
My counselor talks about this concept of hunting for hurt.
Yeah.
That sort of sounds like the same general concept.
Yeah, it feels sometimes more of a relief and comfortable to be in pain when you've known that, and chaos and pain. That feels normal and soothing, a relief to be in it, which you have to like do a lot to retrain yourself. And a lot of that is just like acting secure, and what would a secure functioning person do, and acting as if and taking contrary action and just being vulnerable. Again, if you have a spiritual practice and outlook, then it's like, well, I can't be abandoned. If I have myself and a higher power, it's like that's never going to abandon me, so I can never be abandoned. Relying on something else that isn't a fallible human, it is a spiritual thing that will never abandon me if I have that connection, and I will be okay and taken care of. And also just knowing if someone abandons and leaves, like then that wasn't meant to be, that's good to know that, rather than staying in these painful situations because it's so painful to leave.
For me, when I was in my teens, I was into a lot of using of substances and nothing major, but just like being a kid. And then I was straight edge from 19 until 35. So like a long period of my life,
Mm-hmm.
most of my adult life. And then there was a period where it was like really heavy drinking, and it was because I was going through such a hard time at that point. So I was masking all those emotions between 35 and 41 or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm 52 and I've been straight edge again now for 11 years. So when I stopped using the substances, like in my early 40s, the second time, I started to notice all these things about myself. Oh yeah, I've got an addictive personality, and this thing over here is kind of weird. Oh, and that thing, and maybe this is an addiction, maybe that's an addiction. And it took me quite a few years to get to the point where I could manage those addictive traits.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to not pathologize everything, because when you are like doing the work, quote unquote, all these 12-step programs, that's getting you to look at, you're constantly like looking at things and in therapy and that. So I think it's sometimes important to not pathologize. Like not everything's like, oh, there's something wrong with me. Oh, that's my addiction. Oh, we are human at the end of the day, and trying to like go a bit easier on that stuff and go easier on myself and just let it be, rather than like trying to name everything and pathologize too much. So that's a fine art in itself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And getting labels put on by the medical community professionals.
Yeah.
For me, it's great to have a label of bipolar, but at the same time, now that I know what it is,
Yeah.
I can move away from that label, and I can also use that as a touchstone to my support groups and to helping other folks out through volunteer work and stuff like that. But I don't have to constantly be thinking, and I've never used the word disorder because I don't like it at all. So, but constantly thinking about the pathology of what I'm going through instead of just this is me, and I'll have good days and bad days with the symptoms of bipolar,
Hmm.
but that's just managing. That's
Yeah.
just the same as managing anything else.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think putting labels on everything, I don't even on social media, like it's like this wellness industrial complex. This stuff's really been thrown into the whirlpool of capitalism now. So it's just being careful of that as well.
I like that wellness industrial
Yeah.
complex. You should name one of your songs that.
Thank you. I'm going to write that down. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good that they can not feel alone and they have a place to go. But I think it's just being cautious that at the end of the day, these are apps trying to like sell you things, and
Yeah.
be weary of that.
Have you seen changes in yourself over the last few years as far as your mental health goes? And have you noticed a shift at all in that way?
Definitely, there's new shifts. I'm in my early 40s, and there's that whole ball game that they don't talk to you about. No one talks about perimenopause and menopause in women, and just the emotional, biological shifts that happen. Like it is really intense. So, yes, I think in the last couple of years, I've felt shifts in my mental health in terms of, yeah, in my cycle and being in your 40s, like my body's changing, and in my cycle, I know there's a week period. I'm like, uh-oh, we're in the danger zone, I call it, because it feels just, I feel like a bit maniacal is the only word. I feel a bit like crazy. Just my perception is all warped. I feel like my alcoholism is a disease of perception, and that's just like amplified when I'm in this stage. And then everything's at like the abandonment stuff gets amplified. It's hard to describe it, but it does feel like maniacal, and you can't trust yourself. And, I don't know if I'm going to try blow shit up or, yeah, nothing feels like enough. I have things in place to kind of calm me down there. So that's mainly where I'm at with things now. But I feel like all the 12-step programs that I'm in really help me in those ways. And I have been in therapy for the last few months. I was in therapy my whole life, and then I stopped because I didn't want to do it online. It didn't like feel right to me. And I was doing EMDR therapy at the time, which was really good. But I do feel like 12-step work doesn't all the time like get to the attachment stuff. So I'm in therapy to help with that, and that's really helping. So yeah, that's where I'm at in my journey right now. The hormonal stuff is cray cray.
Are you able to note the distortion in your thinking at that point?
Yeah, I do. And I just like get very emotional, and you just do like look at life. Like I feel like a low level depression of just crying and feeling just the weight of things and the nostalgia of things, and just allowing myself to feel it, and just cry when I need to. And like I have my support group friends and stuff who I really check in with more, and like usually up my meetings then, and watch a lot of films. I'm a cinephile, and film is definitely something that's a medication for me in a way. It's like an escapism. I feel good when I'm watching highbrow movie. I'm not like watching trash that I can just escape it. I'm usually watching very highbrow things, but it helps me. And I know they're like my medicine, and they're much better than drinking and using and all these other things. So I think it's okay to have a little addiction to cinema.
I guess I'm getting better at it, but the idea of feeling your feelings, the concept is a bit weird to me. I don't quite understand, even though I've talked to my counselor about it a lot. Now with my depression and mania symptoms, like I know that they're there and I know that they are symptoms, they're not reality, but I have trouble sitting in them.
Mhm.
How has it been for you to be able to, you said, feel those feelings?
I meditate, which I like. I don't know. I think I'm like good at this stage in my life at just going, okay, I'm a human being. The point of being human is like we have feelings and emotion. Like that's why we're in this body in this lifetime, is to feel our feelings. So my thinking around this is probably very Buddhist, to see that nothing is permanent, everything's temporary, it's all just fleeting, it will pass. Even when I'm feeling elated and wow, like I know that is going to shift. And I just like close my eyes and I just notice what's happening. And I'm like, wow, you're having like an emotion, and put your hand on your heart, and like, this is what it means to be human. Like, I am a human being, and one day I'm not going to be, and maybe it will be pure light or pure love or whatever. I mean, I can sometimes see it as like I've taken a drug and it's only going to last a few hours, but I'm in this feeling right now, and it's going to pass. Like it just always does. We all know it. So yeah, just honoring like the being human thing. And it's messy and imperfect, but that's why we're in this incarnation in life. Buddhism is soothing to me.
Maybe for folks that are living with mental health conditions, we're just feeling things more. Maybe it's not that we're ill or sick or diseased, but that we have really strong feelings, strong, huge, strong empathy.
Yeah.
The folks that I deal with in the support group, like huge empathy, feelings of low and high in my case, but they're exaggerated or they're intensified. That's what I have to manage,
Uh-huh.
is those stronger feelings.
Yeah. Like I'm an empath for sure. Like I really feel other people's things. So like having better boundaries helps for that, but just trying to stay in my body when I'm feeling things. But yeah, I mean, I can relate to just very heightened feelings and emotions. I'm all for medication and whatever's going to make your life manageable, because it's really hard trying to deal with our own internal stuff and then the external. It's a lot. So whatever makes your life manageable is, yeah.
When you get in the jam room and you're writing songs, or when you get to a show and you're up on the stage playing a show to people that are really stoked, what feelings are you having at that point?
First, nerves, like I think before I get on stage, but yeah, I mean, if I just feel like I'm being of service, like I do feel like me playing music is, I'm just the medium for the message or whatever. And like if someone resonates, that's amazing. And that's why I'm there. So I just try like let go of feelings of nerves or whatever, which is still cool because I care and like I'm nervous and using that energy. But playing shows, I'm just like, wow, we're connecting, like we're all here together in this moment with not many distractions. Like there's something really pure about this. The connection of when you see music, you're not being distracted by stuff. It's like a very intense, pure, raw connection that's happening. And then writing songs, try not to overthink anything and just allow it to just come. With punk rock, like I feel like it has to be immediate. Like I want to feel and not overthink things at all, because once you overthink it, it kind of again takes away from the raw emotion that's happening and the magical place that's happening where I'm receiving something and trying to not get in the way of that.
Like a flow zone.
Yeah. And the flow zone is amazing. And just watching something appear out of nowhere and creating something from nothing is special.
Tripping over love, tripping over stupid things, I'm tripping over fines. Now I'm future tripping, tripping over existence, tripping over powerless, I'm tripping over women. I'm feeling all my feelings, feeling till I'm nearly surrendering to everything that's up in me. I'm kneeling, had to get my heart. I'm praying to a God who's laughing at all of the control I think I got. Cause life is absurd. Life is absurd. Life is absurd.
That was my conversation with Romy Hoffman of Agender, agendermusic.com. For more episodes of Screen Therapy, go to screentherapyhq.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. Big news, the Screen Therapy book is available now. Screen Therapy, A Punk Journey Through Mental Health, tells my story and the stories of others who use punk as a catalyst for mental health. Like this podcast, it links the community-minded punk scene with the mental wellness of the punks who belong to it. To order the book, go to screentherapyhq.com. For merch, check out Scream Therapy on TeePublic. Okay, enough promoting. It's time for some thanking. Thank you for listening to Scream Therapy. Doing this podcast and talking to folks about punk rock and mental health has been a crucial part of my own mental stability, and it means so much to me that you're out there listening. Screen Therapy is created in the Cathet region of coastal British Columbia, Canada, on the traditional territory of the Tla'amin Nation. Contact me at screentherapyhq.com or email me at screentherapypodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk about punk rock and mental health. Until next time, take care and be well.